few Vedic dances. What Shiva sometimes called Natavana, but actually Krishna is the greatest of dancers. Even Lord Shiva is astonished by Krishna's dancing. By his dancing, Lord Shiva can destroy the universe. By his dancing, Krishna can invoke and create prema in the hearts of all who see him. So which is a greater feat? To destroy the universe or to create pure, extraordinary love in the hearts of anyone for Krishna. So the Gopal saw his dancing and the desire to be with him increased even more. Now by that time, God has a group, and the slightly older groups, older than the younger groups, they, by the arrangement of Purnamasi, had become married. But there was still a group of young girls who had not become married yet, and they desired, like all the girls in Vrindavan, they all wanted Krishna as their husband. So they thought we have to do a vow. We must accomplish this somehow or other. We must get Krishna as our husband. And these young girls, these beautiful young Vajayanis, they're very special in that they are composed of groups of devotees that have come to Vrindavan now for the first time. They have perfected their practice of bhakti in their former lifetimes, after many, many lifetimes of practice, and now, by the blessings of the Lord and other Vaishnavas, they have taken birth in Vrindavan, in the wombs of gopis, and they are raised and from a young age have heard about Krishna, and they want him as their husband. Some of these gopis, you hear about them, there's different groups. Some were rishis, they were doing meditation in the Dandapani forest. And they're doing meditation for thousands and thousands of years. And at one point, and because they were so purified by their practices of sadhana, their practice of bhakti through the process of meditation, when they saw Lord Ram, instantly, feelings of deep love, and even though they appear to be young bodies, their spirit developed, those feelings came out in them, and they all wanted Lord Ram as their husband. Please, we want you as our husband. And he said, this is not, in this incarnation, I have vowed to take may during the time of my next life I will live in Vrindavan, and there you may be born in the womb of the gopis. We may be lovers and beloveds. So these Rishicharis, they were born in the wombs of gopis. And as a group, they took birth, and they were among these young girls. There was another group of the personified Upanishads and other Vedic literature that were also doing their practice, and they also met Lord Ram. And a similar occurrence happened, and they also took birth en masse in Vrindavan and as young gopis, and they were part of this group. And there are others who practice as individuals. Overall, there are many, many now who have come into Braj for the first time, and now the aim and object of all of the austerities and practices for all of their thousands of lives are coming to fruition, and now they are wanting that this Krishna who we've worshipped for so long, that he become our husband. So there are many different descriptions of this pastime. It's a very important pastime. It's got very profound philosophy on many different levels. And so it's been described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's commentary, very detailed technical commentary and Rasik commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Jiva Goswami has written this story in his Gopal Champu in a very lovely narrative. It's also in the Ananda Vrindavan Champu of Kavi Kanapur. Each of these stories is a little different in what they stress, and they reveal some specialities in each of these stories. So in the beginning of this month, we read the verses of the Bhagavatam. Actually, no, we read, what did we read? What did I read the other day? Was it just the verses of the Bhagavatam? Yeah, I just read the verses of the Bhagavatam. So today I thought I'd read the Gopal Champu, because Jiva Goswami was very careful to present this pastime in such a way that people that could not understand the beauty and intricacies of Parakya Ras could understand and embrace this pastime without committing offense. And he also explains many things to adjust people's conceptions so they can appreciate the spirituality of this pastime. The beauty of Krishna's Leela as Nara Leela, humanly, is that he exhibits many of the qualities of ordinary humanity, so that it's quite approachable for us. Actually, it's really the reverse. That Krishna's pastimes are what they are, and they take on the quality or they appear to be the quality of humanity to lend a special sweetness to it. But our activities are just a limited reflection of the purity of the spiritual pastimes. And by understanding our own experiences and our own emotions and feelings, we get some approximation of the spiritual reality, but not really the real thing, because our activities are tainted by selfishness, by lust, by anger, by greed. We have not got in our hearts the quality of pure love. However, these inhabitants, these gopis, they have that pure love for Krishna. And their pastime and their feelings for him are of an extraordinary level of prema. Now, not having that, what does that mean for us? Are we qualified to hear this? Yes, we are. Because we're eager. We want to hear it. So that's our qualification. What will we get from it? What will be the benefit? Well, if we hear properly, submissively, the version of our acharyas, then Gurudev explains that it's like someone who works with candles. When you work with candles all day, gradually some wax from those candles comes on your hand and gets a layer. So when we hear these pastimes repeatedly, some emotion comes into our heart. Is it pure emotion? No. But it's something, it's the beginning. And he says this is a very good thing. And the more that we hear in proper philosophical perspective, the more our understanding will deepen, and the more our emotions will become actually elevated and purified. So we have every opportunity and right to enjoy and relish these pastimes. And then when we're hearing them, pray that we can enter into them ourselves. And then we get the full benefit. So this is Jiva Goswami speaking to us. These acharyas are there in their literature, so we're praying to him. And all of our subsequent acharyas in our line of Guru Parampara, that they give us this connection and let the beauty and purity and love of these pastimes enter into our heart. Okay? So let's see, this is chapter 21 of Sri Gopal Champu, translated by my godbrother, Bhanu Swami, Sripad Bhanu Swami, and originally composed by Jiva Goswami. So, it's being narrated by Snigdha Kant. There's Snigdha Kant and Madhu Kant, the two brothers who are orators, who speak in the assembly of Anand Raj and speak the glories of Krishna's pastimes for the pleasure of all the devotees. This is the tradition. We have heard about them before. They were also Manigriva and Nala Kuvara, the sons of Kuvara, and by the mercy of Narad Muni, they were benedicted to be liberated by Sri Krishna, and they went to the spiritual realm and took these identities. So now they are narrating in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj to all of Nanda Maharaj's friends and family and relatives, and all Krishna's friends and family and relatives. They're all sitting there, and Snigdha and Madhukan, every morning they tell stories. And now they're telling this story. Oh, they also speak in the evening. And in the evening, they speak stories that are more confidential. In the morning, they tell a story that all of those who are in Vatsalya Ras and Sakya Ras, they can understand and appreciate. But the intimacy and the confidentiality of the pastime between Krishna and his beloved gopis, he may tell something in the morning, but very briefly. Those pastimes that reveal the nature of Krishna's loving dealings with his devotees, these are reserved for the evening for a more limited audience. And this is an evening narration. Okay. So, we have our minds and hearts ready, able to listen. I know it's kind of hard, we wander here and there. I wander here and there. Well, I've heard everyone say, give me your ears. You ever hear him say that? Give me your ears, just for a few moments. Okay, so, try your best. So, Snigdha again spoke. Who's he speaking to? Krishna, Radha, and the Sakhis. After Garga performed the samskars for Krishna and Balaram, thus delineating their status, many young girls, being very fortunate, were born in Braj in various families, and by their nature developed desires for Krishna alone from the time they were small children. This should be described. When they had developed an inclination that Krishna would be their husband, they were ignorant of the method. The gopis, having beauty like the moon, grew thin like the waning moon because of their inclination to Krishna and because of their great sorrow. What's that sorrow? He's there and they're here. Separation. When alone, they would pray to various devatas for attaining Krishna. They wandered about with no aim. So these poor young girls, their hearts are just filled, besotted with love. They had the ultimate crush on Krishna. All they could think about, all they could think about day and night was Krishna. And they couldn't figure out any way to be with him or to fulfill their desire, so they're just wandering around with no aim. They prayed, may we live in the house of Nanda and Yashoda, and may they be our father-in-law and mother-in-law. May Krishna be our husband, birth after birth. One day the young girls met together and went to the bank of the Jamuna. This was suitable. Though many students study under one guru, their goal is one, and they gather at one place. The girls of various births, being friends, gathered together in one place with the same goal. So they weren't envious of each other. They all wanted the same goal, and they all thought that was appropriate. They had no harm, no problem with that. We'll all be Krishna's wives. No difficulty. When they gathered together, their sentiments became one. Though born in various places around Braj, they all had affection for Krishna. Just as when thick clouds gather together, there is rain. Well, sometimes they were unfriendly to each other. Now they showed great friendship, because though they hid their hearts when among their elders, they revealed their hearts to each other. How could they hide their hearts when they met together? Why does it say they were unfriendly? Because in Braj there's different groups of gopis. And some of these groups are in competing camps. Like there's Radhika's camp, there's Chandravali's camp, and they're competing for the affections of Krishna. It's not like ordinary competition. And even though they appear to be opposed, who are these different gopis? They're all expansions of Radhika. They're all her Kaya Vyuha. So these are all expansions of Radhika to expand the Ras in Krishna's playful pastimes. So there has to be some competition, and it makes it more relishable. So some gopis are meant to be in one camp, some in the other. So it means before this, they would sometimes be unfriendly to each other, but now they have the same goal. And they were all in separation. And there are many instances of like this, that even when in competition, when they're all experiencing separation, the gopis are all friendly together again, because they all feel the same mood. So all these gopis now, these young girls, they're not concerned that this group or that group, they all want the same thing. So they've come together, and by coming together, just as one cloud may not be able to do much by itself, but when you bring many, many dark clouds together, then there is rain. Right? You look up in the sky and you see one cloud, but then you see another gather, and then another, oh, maybe, and when enough of them come together, rain. So, all these gopis came together. The power of their combined desire is going to make it rain with love of Krishna. When they revealed their hearts to each other, tears flowed from their eyes, and their bodies fainted. Observing them and desiring their happiness, Vrinda approached them, wearing the cloth of a mendicant. Earlier, Vrinda had thought, all these young girls have attraction to meet Krishna, but they cannot express it. Attraction arises from conventional affection and becomes strong when it awakens. They should worship the Devata and not worship him. Another lesson. It's very hard to approach Krishna directly, so you have to approach him through someone who can speak on your behalf. So Vrinda Devi is thinking, yes, they need an intermediary, someone who will intercede on their behalf. When Krishna sees his dear representative being worshipped to achieve him, then he becomes pleased. So, she was welcomed by this group, and then she blessed them. After the formalities, she began to speak. Oh, young girls, I live in this forest. Seeing your attraction for Krishna, I have come with a heart filled with compassion. I have a method for achieving your goals. Please hear about it carefully. You can accomplish this without great endeavor, but you must practice with a little endeavor for 1 month. I have mastered that compassionate magical method endowed with mantras. Just as one places the Nidhi gem in a particular place, Vrinda placed the mantra in the ears of the girls, taught them the method of worship, and feeling satisfied within, disappeared. Attached to her teachings, the girls became absorbed in the highest bliss. Now, mantras contained in the Sripad Harikatha. In Vrindavan right now, in Ranikunj, they've been doing this for years, but for this whole month, they duplicate the activities of the gopis in their morning ritual. They don't go down to the Jamuna. They used to go down to the Jamuna and bathe, but now things are so crowded and everything. But they do everything that you're going to hear here. They chant all the prayers, offer all the ingredients, make the deity of Katyani, and very beautiful thing. Very beautiful. So, the greatness of profuse Ra, that means a great amount, assisted all of them constantly, and they had attained a method for fulfilling their desires. Thus, they experienced pure bliss. The supreme Vaishnavi Shakti, most worshipful, was their guru for Anurag. The best of mantras would fulfill their desires. What other happiness could they desire? See? When you become sincere, when you really want something, then Krishna will send the means to achieve it. That's why I have the fortune to meet a guru, because something in the heart from previous lifetimes to this lifetime comes to a certain point and matures, and Krishna arranges. Now I am sending you the means. So these gopis wanted this so bad, and then the beautiful mendicant Vrindadevi came. Purnamasi and Vrindadevi, they assume this dress and role. They're like the gurus of everybody in Vrindavan, but especially the gopis. Vrinda is especially like the guru to the gopis, and she arranges meetings and so many things for them. So the supreme Vaishnavi Shakti, most worshipful, was their guru for Anurag. Vaishnavi Shakti, supreme. The best of mantras would fulfill their desires. What other happiness could they desire? The young girls began the vow on the first day of Agrahayana month with a vow, sankalpa. Leaving their houses together 4 dandas before sunrise, they went to the bank of the Jamuna while holding hands and singing. While going, they joked and revealed their intentions. So this is what these little gopis were thinking. Oh friend, the form of all auspiciousness, wearing a garland and endowed with the best qualities, will marry you. Nanda, pleased with this, is spreading the joyful news. On hearing the news, your mother and father become joyful and distribute wealth. Hiding his joy within, Krishna will make you angry with joking words sent through friends. After the matchmaker decides the auspicious day, Krishna will don new cloth for his wedding. His dark complexion, mixing with the gold color of his cloth, is like a cloud with lightning bolts, the basis of all beauty. He has a yellow vest, which sparkles with various colors. He wears a crown, head ornaments, and turban, and has jewels in his locks of hair. He wears tilak. I've addressed Krishna in a vest here. It'd be really nice to have a vest. Krishna would look really dashing in a vest. He has a very beautiful chest. You know, I have it open a little bit, you know, very heroic looking. Earrings decorate his cheeks. His lips become reddened with betel stains, and he covers his lips with a cloth held in his hand. He has a necklace on his throat. He has armlets, bracelets, and rings on his fingers, and a colored thread on his wrist. On his heart are a necklace and a kostuba. He wears many garlands. He has a shining belt with jewels on his waist and ornaments on his feet. No one has ever seen such remarkable dressing. He is the ornament for all those ornaments and limbs. Such pride is acceptable. The people watched him arrive on a jeweled cart surrounded by friends. They shower him with flowers while he sits on the cart, and they sing songs. He is pleased with the sound of the cart and hundreds of instruments. Oh, friend, on hearing the tumultuous sounds of the marriage, your heart will become agitated. Oh, friend, when he arrives at your door, you will faint in bliss. They're just sitting there imagining the wedding day with Krishna and singing about it together. It's in their mind, it's in their heart. Krishna's there, he's coming, he's all dressed up, he's ornamented beautifully, and they're in the house waiting. Every one of them is imagining this. Oh, friend, your relatives will approach the groom, and women with red lips will sing. The instrumentalist will approach the groom, and the songs will be loud. The women will approach, perform arti, and sprinkle flowers. Oh, beautiful girl, when Krishna comes to the pavilion, your happiness will increase. Oh, beautiful girl, after Nanda and others have been worshipped, There will be so much joking. Having followed the preliminary rules, they will bring you to Krishna, along with many gems. They will bring you, whose limbs are weak because of love, in front of him. Your father will take your weak hand and join it with Krishna's hand using water. Beautiful faced girl. No one will understand your great happiness. What more can I say? I see that he has accepted your attractive hand. This is what they're imagining, deep in their heart, fully envisioning. Coming to the Jamuna, quickly finishing their songs, they shed their garments on the bank of the river in the early morning with childish flurry, and coming together submerged themselves in the water. Because they wore silk, that cloth was not rejected, even though it was not washed again. They put on the cloth, made a worshipful deity of cut diamond out of sand, chanted mantras, and returned to their houses. For 1 month, they performed this vow. On the last day, when the vow was to be completed, in great bliss, they went to the bank of the Jamuna and played in the water for a few moments without bashfulness, since it was isolated and far off from habitation. Understanding what they had been doing for that month, Krishna took 4 young boys with him and went there secretly, watching them while offering his heart to them. Now, these boys, they took that form of being very, very young, almost like babies, because this is going to be a pastime, an intimate pastime, and it wouldn't be appropriate for Krishna's friends of his age to see like this. But because these were little babies, then they have no idea of what's going on. But these are friends of his age, Dam, Sudam, Vasudam, and Kinkini. And they are expansions and manifestations of Krishna's own mind, intelligence, chitta, and ahankara. So when they turned 5 years old, they received a shower of praying from Krishna every day and became joyful in association with others their same age. They went along with him and asked, "Where are you going?" Clever Krishna, taking company of the 4 boys, arrived at the Jamuna and signaled them to stop laughing with a gesture of his hand. Actually, described in Gopal Champu, they were all joking like little nonsense boys who can't control themselves. But Krishna wanted to sneak up and observe and steal the cloth. So he silenced them with a fierce glare. And they went, "Ooh." And then they, so where are we going? So bending down while the girls could not see, he stole their clothing. Taking the clothes, he quickly climbed in a kadamba tree and began laughing along with the other boys. Hearing the laughing, the young girls all together looked up in fear. Hearing the deep-throated laugh, whose supreme excellence was appreciated by others around him, the girls glanced at each other. Not seeing their clothing where they left it, they submerged their bodies in the water up to their necks, appearing like lotuses. This description is there a lot. When they're in the water, their beautiful faces, complexions of gold, they look like golden lotus flowers. And sometimes when they're sporting with Krishna playing hide and seek in the water, they immerse themselves amongst a large number of golden lotuses so they can't be detected. Or Krishna will put himself where there are many blue lotuses so they can't see him. So now they're hearing this laughing. They thought they were alone, but they hear this laughing. Oh no, someone's here. And now they're hiding up to their necks because they have no clothing. The faces of the girl could not be mistaken for lotuses. Why? Because lotuses were insignificant compared to their beauty. And no lotuses blossomed in the winter season. So no hiding among the lotuses this time. The girls remained with downcast eyes for some time in the water. Then they glanced at the kadamba tree when the chill became intense. Previously, Krishna hid himself behind the branches, but now he made himself invisible. Krishna's glance at the faces of the girls, with their bodies submerged in water, was like a bee within a lotus. The girls gazed at Krishna, just as a tuk-tuk bird gazes at a cloud. The tuk-tuk bird will only drink water from a cloud, so they look at the cloud with thirsty eyes. And the gopis are gazing at Krishna now. The source of all their trouble, but still they're so enamored with him. The young boys laughed loudly, and the young girls became angry. The boys said, "Stealing your clothes will become respected in Braj." With Krishna giving them constant instructions, the young boys spoke. So Krishna is encouraging them to taunt these girls. First, they said, "We do not know whether our action is permissible or not, but we came to teach you, since we have understood our lessons." Looking at each other ashamed, the girls said, "You have learned well from some teacher. Please practice teaching in Braj to gain the respect of your teacher." That's somewhere else. Again, the boys are being instructed by Krishna spoke. "We do not know why you are scolding us. You are aquatic beings and we reside in trees." Making some little joke now. We're of different species. You're beings of the river, we're beings of the tree. You're like fish, we're like monkeys. You have no right to chastise and scold us. Your dharma and behavior is yours, ours is ours. The girl said, "One should criticize the acts of you thieves sitting on the edges of the tree's branches. Since our clothes have been stolen, we are suffering from being submerged in the water." Then Krishna himself spoke with pretended anger and astonishment. "What did we steal from you?" The girl said, we are many. Why are you trying to hide our clothing with great difficulty?" Krishna said, "Well, you are certainly covered by the sky." Oh, see, now this dialogue, it's written in Sanskrit. This is very typical of the dialogue between the gopis and Krishna. They'll say one thing, and they'll use a particular word, but that word may have many meanings. And then the other will argue back and pretend he didn't understand what they meant and use a different meaning for it. So it's this very clever interplay of words. It's difficult to explain it just through the English. The girls spoke to their friends, "Bring the clothing into the water by the mercy of Katyayani. What to speak of pulling you in? You think you're going to try something? Come a little closer. We're going to pull you in and dunk you." Now the boys hearing this and become a little afraid. They fall back to the kadamba tree and they climb up. The gopis, they can be very fierce if they want to. Now they've intimidated these little boys who've run off. Now Krishna begins to laugh and he says, "You are playing in this place as if you were auspicious women. Let your pride remain. I see that the Devatas are merciful to you. As long as you remain living in the water, we are determined to stay on the top of this tree, living in the air." Understanding his words, the girls revealed their minds using puns. Now there's a lot of dialogue, clever dialogue between them, where they're taunting each other back and forth. And then they come and say, so then Krishna speaks sweet words, because I can't read all of this. There's many, many pages of these jokes, and we want to finish this in time. But you can read it on your own. Or maybe we'll read it during class, repeat that part. So he's laughing at them, they're laughing at him, and they're saying that he's joking, he can't be serious. And he says, this is not a joke. You have become thin because of your vows to cut dining. You are so pitiful, you should not suffer. And then they say, someone who takes others' clothing because of lust, compassionate to them when they are cold, shows himself to be most absurd. Let that be. Speak truthfully. When did you begin speaking the truth? Krishna says, I never speak lies. Gopis say, who said that? Krishna says, oh, proud girls, if you make incorrect conclusions about me, then please ask these most righteous people gathered here. And they respond, and they're smiling. True, they seem to know your intentions and are righteous. And Krishna says, oh, girls with thin waists, if you think my words are not true, then see with your eyes. You can all come, or one among you can come forward. Now, they've been joking all this time. And what did the gopis want? They wanted Krishna as their husband. What does that mean? They wanted to have an opportunity to be with Krishna in an intimate, friendly, and loving relationship. The way they're joking now is only possible between a husband and a wife. Otherwise, girls and boys are not able to associate so intimately. So now the girls are becoming very happy and pleased by all of this, because now they're thinking, oh, Krishna is fulfilling our desire. He's joking with us in this way. And then seeing how Krishna was joking with them, the gopis became fully immersed in love for him. And as they glanced at each other, they began to laugh and joke among themselves, even in their embarrassment. Still, they did not come out of the water. They were embarrassed to go to the shore and were freezing cold in the water. Thus they all remained there stunned. They spoke a little. Now they're trying to convince Krishna. They can convince him with different kinds of arguments, and Krishna is going to refute them or ignore them. And when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vishwanath Chakravarti will explain that there are 4 kinds of ways, diplomatic ways, to get somebody to do something. Different ways in which an expert diplomat or person will try to convince people. And so they're going to use these 4 ways. And then we'll explain them in another day. But listen to their arguments. You are the jewel of Nanda, the object of affection for the people, and are respected by them. We are becoming disturbed in heart because of the extreme cold. Please, give us our clothing. Give us our clothing. Do not act improperly. With flattering him and appealing to his higher nature as a prince, as a son of Nanda, the possessor of all good qualities, Krishna said, I have seen some crafty person here. Since you are from good families, I must help you who are defenseless, since the forest spirit has stolen your clothing. Therefore, I am acting like this. We do not have any interest in your lordly clothing. If you give something to satisfy us, with joy we will remove the obstacle caused by the forest spirit. I want to give you it back. What are you going to give me? The gopis, they were engaged in worshiping Katyayani, and they began to reflect. Oh, he's trying to make us reveal the exact intentions in our minds. This is the right time to reveal the attraction in our minds. But we should be careful of deceit. That seems natural since we are now freezing and frightened. So Krishna, he's trying to taste him. He wants to taste the full quality of their love. And he's asking them, reveal that to me. Show me, prove your love. I know you've been out here for this whole month. Now let us see the results of all your activities, how they will bear fruit. They said to him, "Oh, we're freezing from the icy wind and we're about to die. You should not joke with us using torturous words. Give us our clothes. We will accept the bad name that you want to give us." Krishna responds, "Oh, if you give what I want, I will accept obedience to you." Once again, encouraging. If you give what I want, which is pure, unalloyed love, then I will become obedient to you. You will captivate me, and then I will become controlled by you. And then began to think, oh, he has become expert at affecting our hearts. Anyway, we must go along with his jokes and serve him. "Oh, Shama Sundar, we are your servants." Then Krishna says, "Then, you're my servants, do what I previously requested." And then they're looking back and forth, "Oh, how can we do this?" "All right, we will do as you have said." Though filled with eagerness, Krishna remained silent. Then the gopis said, "O knower of religion, of Dharma, give us our clothing. Since you break your promises elsewhere, you should not pronounce Dharma while causing mortal wounds." Krishna is quiet, although he's smiling secretly. And they say again, "If you do not do this, we'll tell the king." So now they're trying to threaten him, put fear in him. And they didn't mean it, but this is one of the ways to try and convince. Then Krishna says, "Oh, when will you be my servants? When will you follow my words? I have not realized that yet. If this topic is true without alternatives, rise from the water, bringing with you all treasures, and come here as a group with smiles, not with even a little rudeness. If you do not do this, why should we help young girls who have made false vows and have introduced our Dharma?" They're saying, "Oh, you say you want to be my wife? You want to be my complete beloved? Then you have to offer everything to me, your full treasure. Can we not have this little baby crawling? I mean, it's a little distracting. Mom and Dad." And this is what he wants from us. Absolute surrender. And what's the treasure? Pure love of our heart. And the treasure for the gopis, unlike any other kind of devotee, they can offer everything to Krishna, even their shame, their bodies, everything. And now he's saying, this is what I want from you. So now they're beginning to trust a little bit. And the precious jewel of civility and compassion, Krishna. Not completely, but now they're so numbed in the cold, and because of shame, they did rise from the water in order to get relief from the pain of the cold. And though it seems like they acted because of the cold, they acted for another reason. They're thinking, if our desire is fulfilled, we will maintain our bodies. Otherwise, we will give up our bodies. This much we agree on. So what is the use of our shame? Our whole purpose here is to attain Krishna. Without Krishna, what is the use of this body? So let us offer everything to him. So they come out of the water, and they have no clothing. But they don't reveal themselves completely. They place their hands and cover their most private areas. Their hair is covering their upper portion, their hands covering their lower portion, and they're hunching over. And Krishna sees them again, and this is all symbolic to show us absolute surrender. But don't think of it to be anything like the ordinary or the mundane. This is a very extraordinary thing. Nobody can compare with their purity and their love and Krishna's love for them. So, how astonishing. What's the gap here? They have given up their bodies, they've emerged, but they have not given up their shame. They have approached me, Krishna is saying, in this condition. It is good that they worry about displeasing me. Their eagerness has made them give up reservation, so they've almost surrendered everything. But then he says to them, I will give you your cloth when you decide to become my servants. Previously, it was difficult to decide, but seeing the situation now is clear. You have learned about conducting worship from a genuine guru, but I have become pale on seeing your bad conduct. You should understand that by entering the river naked, you have offended the deity of the water. In order to nullify this fault, you must place your hands on your heads and offer respects to the deity. So now you have to be like this. So you have to give up your shame. He's using the pretext of this prayer to the deity to command them, now you have to surrender everything. And the girls, they did feel the shame in their hearts, and they were overcome with fear. They understood they must obey this order. Why? If we want the object, the aim and object of our worship, everything we've sought, Krishna is our beloved. He's making this request. We have to do it. We have to do it. And every day in our own lives, we also approach some additional thing that we realize, I have to give this up. I have to give that up. If I really want to gain the mercy of my Guru, one more obstacle, one more attachment, one more selfish thing I have to put aside before I become completely surrendered to Sri Guru, Hari Guru and Vaishnavas. And so this is the ultimate exhibition of complete surrender. That unmarried girls coming before him like that, but also realizing there's something special about this pastime, because by demanding this, Krishna is actually accepting them that yes, now you are mine and I am yours, because only the husband can see the wife like this. So by demanding this, I'm actually giving you what you have requested. But also by this pastime, all these subtle layers of obstacle that even somebody in pure praying may have, the last vestige of obstacle before achieving their topmost desire has to be removed. Just like the gopis that wanted to join Ras Leela, they had to give up the conception even that we have children or husband. And then that wolf's body was burned away and they were given pure spiritual forms, and Yogamaya created another form to stay in the house and perform the activities of the wife while they went off to Ras Leela. So this is that kind of thing. On the most high spiritual platform now, they are being gifted with the purest praying. So, as stealing their clothes, he gave them great bliss. So when Krishna came down from the tree to hide their shame, the girls found their clothing with even greater embarrassment, but clear rati manifested in them and spread throughout their limbs. Their lotus faces began to blossom on attaining Krishna. Their glances fell on him. Oh, the movement of love is so crooked. Krishna came to give them a gift, but he forgot everything of smelling the fragrance from their lotus faces. As bees surround lotuses filled with honey, the young girls remained around him, accepting him as their husband. The girls then said, "Let us go. What else should we do here?" Taking the clothing and ornaments in their hands, they felt bliss. Krishna, attractive because of stealing the clothing, looked for the gift that he was to give. Therefore, understanding that the girls undergoing penance desired to touch his hand, he decided to fulfill that desire. If one worships someone else for one's own benefit, it is worship for the self. One who is absorbed in me, but shows disrespect externally, gives me pain. I am the first type of person. You are the second. I consider your unconditional vow to be the highest truth. In desiring me, you have no other desire. Just as grains fried in ghee and then fermented in sugar dissolve, worshiping only me, you worship no other object. There is only taste for me. Thus, what more can I say about you? When the best of women heard this, when he hinted that they should marry according to Gandharva rites, their eyes showed embarrassment, and they waited for the time of acceptance. So they were eager, and then they were embarrassed. They're coming forward, and then they were shy. This is the nature of the love of the Gopas. When one comes forward, then the other goes back a little bit. It's the way of praying. It's a crooked way of interaction. So, increasing his powers for accepting them in marriage, he again spoke pure words to them. He said, mutual acceptance of the bride and groom is the method of Gandharva marriage. Mutual acceptance is the highest dharma and manifests naturally between a couple. Having reached success by the Gandharva method of marriage, please return to Braj. On a night very soon, we will meet. When he promised them this, their devotion increased further. Shukadeva Goswami said, thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the young girls, their vow and their desire now fulfilled, could bring themselves only with great difficulty to return to the village of Braj, meditating all the while upon his lotus feet. So Krishna stole their cloth and their hearts, and only returned the cloth. He did not return their hearts, but hid them. So this was the last day, and he gave them the benediction that we will soon meet together in the evening. What does that mean? That we will meet together and enjoy Rasa Leela together. When? The Sant Rasa Leela is coming up. Not with that one. It's just coming up in a few months. But in the Sardiya Ras in the autumn, then these gopis will be eligible for that. So this is the pastime. It's narrated by Jiva Goswami. Very beautiful, very sweet. They started the vows yesterday. So during this month, if you have the time in the morning, there's some prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's one nice verse there, Santa Katalani, and there are other descriptions about what they offer, one thing after another, to this beautiful deity that they created. They did full archana to this deity, offering water for bathing, fragrance, oil, powder to rub the oil off, flowers, ornaments, everything, clothing. And every morning in Radha Kunj they did this. They get a beautiful little deity out of Jamuna sand and cow dung, and they, just as the gopis do, one thing after another, they offer all the objects. They put fresh cloth, little fresh ornaments every day, and do all the prayers. And in this way, go deeply absorbed in this particular pastime. And it's actually quite extraordinary, quite a beautiful thing. And we'll be reading probably another day or two from this, and then at the end of the month as well, we'll read some more. And in the meantime, in the middle, we'll finish up Vastakam, and if we finish that, then we'll begin the Smadurka Dhamma. So, okay, so we finish now. We'll have Arti. Seems like our program is starting a little later. People come later, and so we have to start later. I guess that's okay. I guess it's all right. Because I think if we start earlier, nobody will be here. So we might as well do what we gotta do. All right? For Vaikhanas, how can you get such a small cracker? Small cracker. You were small enough for last week. I know Mashaka. Oh, I know a bunch of people that went down to Sri Lanka. Mashaka, South Indian friends. Told me about everything they can achieve in Sri Lanka, we continue in touch. And Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, we're here. Where's your faith?